I knew there was something big with Biden. I knew, but I didn't know what was so big, because I saw the reaction that they were willing to blow up the Constitution with this coup attack on President Trump after he just raised some reasonable questions about what Biden was up to in Ukraine. And I thought the overreaction suggested there was something much bigger there. And sure enough, it's just the tip of the iceberg. Ukraine was just one of many countries that they were involved, that was a part of that looks like the grift for the Biden family. I talked about this a little bit last week. We have several kind of ongoing concurrent scandals now. We have the underlying scandal of what the Biden family was up to in terms of, and the emails and text messages suggest that Hunter Biden and Joe Biden's other family members, brothers and such, were doing international business and potentially, it looks like, saving and holding back and for payment to Joe Biden the monies they were getting. And there's been dramatic evidence about emails related to a China deal, which I'll talk to you about in a little bit. So the other aspect of the scandal is that the FBI and Justice Department have had this information through since at least December of last year, and have evidently done nothing with it, and in fact probably have hidden it. And then the third corruption scandal associated with it is the media and big tech suppression of the story. Despite new revelations, despite further confirmation of the authenticity of the material, you still have the big media and big tech suppressing information about it in an effort to help Joe Biden and oust Donald Trump. And I'm not saying that you should vote for or against any candidate. I'm just saying that you shouldn't have information about candidates withheld from you by improper and fraudulent intervention by either big tech companies or the media. And so what Judicial Watch is aiming to do is to provide you information that you may not be able to find elsewhere, although thankfully, given our new media age and the new internet, and I know the internet's not new, but the fact that we can now access information outside the traditional gatekeepers, you probably know a lot about what I'm talking about. Now, remember, these documents are not FOIA documents. These documents are material that was in a few places. There's emails that have been released separately from one of Hunter Biden's business partners. There's emails from a gentleman, Mr. What was his name? Of course, I'm going to forget his name. Tony Bobulinski, who is a veteran and also a business partner of Hunter Biden and his colleagues, who has said he came forward after revelations in the last few weeks that essentially he was part of this a China deal that was being pushed by, it looks like, very, very senior folks in China to give millions and millions of dollars to Joe Biden's son. And Bobulinski says that the email about the big guy email that I've told you about, where Hunter says that he would hold 10% of some of that money for 10% of the money for the big guy, that was Joe Biden. And Bobulinski says when Joe Biden says he didn't know anything about Hunter's foreign business interests, he says that's not true. He personally witnessed Hunter and Joe talking about his businesses and regularly consulted with him on it. In fact, he says he met with Joe Biden for an hour talking about this China deal, which at least I think was happening in 2017. And this is on top of the Burisma scandal. So, what I was thinking about this, that, we knew and found out most directly about Hunter Biden getting all that money from Burisma, and Joe Biden's efforts to coincidentally remove the prosecutor investigating Burisma. Yes, and there was an ongoing investigation into Burisma at the time. We knew about that thanks to the whistleblowing of President Trump. Now, the deep state was angry that President Trump wanted accountability for what Ukraine was doing, both in terms of its interfering in a way to upend his candidacy and then his presidency, and also the corruption tied to the Biden and Burisma issue. And little did we know. I mean, we saw that they were willing to blow up the Constitution once he raised questions about that. Biden's defenders in the House and the Senate, the leftists and the Democrats. But now we know that the 83,000 whatever amount of money that Hunter Biden was getting per month, that was a side hustle for them, wasn't it? He got $3.5 million from the Russians, according to a Senate report. This China deal, it's not clear how much money was ever transferred. It looks like at least $5 million, maybe. But they were talking tens of millions of dollars, $10 million just for introductions in this China deal. And who knows how much other money has been sloshing around there. And of course, the texts and emails suggest that Hunter Biden and his family members were taking money from those deals and passing it through to their father, Joe Biden. Now, this was raised during the debate. Joe Biden's response was to suggest it was Russia disinformation, which is obviously silly. I know the media is pretending that's the case. There's no evidence of it. It's just more of the same type of smearing. You raise questions about corruption in the Democratic Party, now you're a Russian agent. That's the new rule of thumb for the left-wing media and its acolytes, or its allies, I should say, in places of power, like in the House and the Senate. It's unbelievable. You have Adam Schiff lying about it again. You have other members of the Senate lying about it again. They know it's not Russia collusion. They know it's not Russia disinformation. We've had the Fox News and the Wall Street Journal confirm the China email. And frankly, the contents of the laptop indirectly as a result. Now we know that the FBI has been embarrassed into questioning Mr. Bobulinski after his revelations. Why didn't they talk to him 6 months ago, 8 months ago? It's not like they didn't know what his name was. He had the information in the laptop. This is just like the Wiener laptop all over again. It's politically inconvenient data, and so the FBI covers it up. So, in Washington, D.C., being as obsessed in D.C. as we are about the political consequences of scandal and how it might impact the election, you've got this distortion going on where the cover up, and as I pointed out, the big tech censorship, which is fraudulent business practices where they're pretending to be neutral when they're not. They're political, and they target people based on politics, not in some neutral business principle that can be defended, frankly, in court. So the big focus is, as a result, on what are the political consequences of this? What's going to happen in the election? I don't know. Personally, I suspect President Trump will probably win again. I'm not saying that because you should vote for or against President Trump or vote for or against Mr. Biden. I'm not advocating someone's election, just giving you a guess as to what I think will happen. But in many ways, this is kind of like the Clinton email scandal again, isn't it? Doesn't it remind you of that? I just, that, and the consequence of the Clinton email scandal was that we uncovered that the consequence of the Clinton email scandal was a significant contributing factor, to put it mildly, to the president of the United States, Donald Trump, being put into the presidency by the American people in 2016. And we'll see if there's this new corruption issue results in similar outcome in his reelection. I don't know. But I'm going to be a little bit more positive about what the outcome is here, because people have asked. I was just in an interview with my friend Charlie Kirk for his podcast, and he said, "What do you think is going to happen legally if Biden wins on this issue?" And it occurred to me that it may not be. Look, they are going to try to shut down any criminal investigation of Joe Biden in a Biden administration. I know that will be the case. They will try, and they will probably succeed. But it isn't going to be as easy as you think. It isn't going to be as easy as you think. So just because Joe Biden may win the presidency, it will not shut down any criminal investigation targeting him. You know, we still do have a government that is answerable to the American people. It's run by politicians who are afraid of the voters, more or less. They don't want to be turned out of office. So if there is a serious criminal investigation of Joe Biden, and you know that's a big if, I don't know if it's going to be able. He's going to be able to shut it down easily. I don't know. I'm not naive in the sense that they'll do anything significant against him, but it could dog him for some time. And past experience is the best indicator of future results when it comes to these investigations. So Joe Biden's likely to be protected, no matter who becomes the president, whether President Trump is reelected or Biden is reelected. But it's not risk-free for him. So the FBI, for instance, investigating his business partner. I mean, if you listen to what Rudy Giuliani is talking about, and of course, Rudy has been right on this. I shouldn't call him Rudy. He's the mayor. I call him the mayor. Has been so right on this. You know, he's been blowing the whistle on this, and for his pains, his patriotism, he's been attacked viciously. He's been targeted with threats of jail and being called a Russia agent, all sorts of smears, because he was blowing the whistle on this corruption for 2 years. And he was righter than right. President Trump was righter than right. I mean, heck, I knew there was something big with Biden. I knew, but I didn't know what was so big, because I saw the reaction that they were willing to blow up the Constitution with this coup attack on President Trump, after he just raised some reasonable questions about what Biden was up to in Ukraine. And I thought the overreaction suggested there was something much bigger there. And sure enough, it's just the tip of the iceberg. Ukraine was just one of many countries that they were involved, that was a part of that looks like the grift for the Biden family. So is the FBI going to do anything? I don't trust the FBI to do anything. Is the Justice Department going to do anything? I don't trust the Justice Department to do anything. This is why I think the president should appoint a separate special counsel, not in the Justice Department, not in the FBI. There are other law enforcement agencies in the government at the federal level that can perfectly investigate this. They don't need the FBI to investigate this. You could have DHS investigated. You could have the Postal Service investigated. They've got an inspector. They got a criminal investigative unit that can investigate this. I don't trust the Justice Department and the FBI to do it. They've kind of proven that they can't be trusted. And it doesn't mean that Attorney General Barr is corrupt. It doesn't even necessarily mean that Wray is corrupt. It just means institutionally they will not satisfy and me at least, and I know millions of Americans I speak for, that any investigation will be legit because of their prior corruption and the failure of those agencies to hold those responsible for that corruption accountable till now. So if I were the president, I'd recommend I'd appoint a special counsel. So that's we'll see what happens with the Joe Biden scandal. Now, Judicial Watch, of course, is on it. We already have cases and lawsuits about Joe Biden and Burisma. For instance, we uncovered that Hunter Biden went to 29 countries. We uncovered that through a Freedom of Information Act lawsuit. And what's interesting in these emails, because we had asked for additional documents about his travels, we didn't get them, so we sued. And the Secret Service said, look, we don't have Secret Service records after, I forget which month in 2014. Suggesting that Biden given up his Secret Service retinue and protection at that time, which raised additional questions. What was he doing why did he give it up if he did? Now these emails suggest that he didn't give it up, that the Secret Service was still providing protection for him. So we may go back to the court and reopen our case. I tell you, what's awful about these corruption issues is that you can't trust the agencies that interact with corrupt government officials as a result, because there's this almost reflexive effort to cover up on their behalf. And I don't know if that's happening here at the Secret Service, but we're going to look into it based on the new emails that we've uncovered. And of course, we immediately sent out FOIAs and are sending out Freedom of Information Act requests on the new revelations here with respect to China and Biden laptop generally, and the FBI and Justice Department's mishandling. So Judicial Watch is on the case, whether or not the Justice Department and FBI do what is required under the law. And don't expect them to have anything done before Election Day. They're not going to do it. They've made the decision to protect him. You know, the big question I have, you may recall, I think it was back in May of this year, Attorney General Barr said that he didn't see anything that they're going to be investigating Obama or Biden for. Well, did he know about the Hunter Biden laptop at the time? If not, why not? If not, why not? So it's interesting. It's going to be an interesting period of time here. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and like our video down below.